Here we go.
Yeah.
Boom. Now
Okay.
we should be
Well,
good.
I think
Let's
that
see.
we're properly live now.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, we're live. We're there. People are looking
We're
at our
here
stupid
now.
faces. So, okay. Well, we've been going live for a little bit now, talking to ourselves, talking to my wife here. So hopefully that was good what we were talking about. But
You'll be able to find
it was a good first run.
the first 15 minutes of this thing over on the actual video after it gets posted after the live stream.
Okay,
'Cause
so
I'm recording all of this, so we'll chop that up. It'll be a nice little funny little 15 minutes.
Okay, so we
Do that
will
again.
repeat ourselves a little bit. Thank you for joining us, Salt of the Streets live show, episode 101. My name is Donovan.
I'm calling.
We're out here
Still.
again. We've been doing this for over 100 weeks, 100 episodes,
Yep.
100 all the time. Rick and Morty, Donovan and Colin forever. No, we've been doing it for a long time. We obviously still don't really know what the fuck we're doing. So
The
we're figuring it out.
YouTube Live is new. Let's
The
give
YouTube
ourselves
Live
credit
thing is
here.
new. Yes, that's true.
And we tried
used
to do
the
something
Facebook
new
Live.
today,
Facebook sucks.
which is one of those, because you always see them on on various YouTube channels. They'll have like a thumbnail on there, say, oh yeah, we're gonna have a live stream, and to set a reminder, it'll be this day at this time.
Yeah.
Tried to do that today, and then it turns out like it had some problems getting it off of preview
Word.
and back into live.
So I guess what we won't do in this one is talk about Chinese organ harvesting. So
Yep.
if you want to hear about that, go ahead and watch that video later after this live stream. Thank you. Well, we
That
already
was just
talked
a
about-
fun aside anyways.
That's- Interesting enough, that's how we started the pre-show. So
Indeed.
go ahead and peep that. This week we have
Oh god, I
a
love this.
full listener request show.
Yes.
Like we said last time. Again, thank you for joining us. Pretty sure that's 3. So Morgan requested a topic, Paul requested a topic, and then we have a third listener request topic from somebody who, again, I said in the pre-show, it's not because we don't. We love you. We love all of our listeners. We love everybody equally. All of our children are beautiful. But we didn't ask you if we could use your name, so we don't want to do it without asking you. We used, I think, your screen name or whatever last week. But
Yeah.
anyway, that is what started this week of listener request topics for episode 101. We're going to talk about some allegations against local Seattle rapper Raz Simone from 2 women. And we talked about it a little bit last week. And so, again, I just want to say explicitly, we're not here to Me Too anybody today. That's not what we're going for. We're not saying that anybody did anything. We're also not saying that anybody didn't do anything. There is some evidence and some things that back up the allegations. And so we're going to kind of go through this super long KUOW article that breaks down the allegations. He did, Raz Simone did like a 3-hour interview with KUOW that I think we tried to find a little bit. We're going to try a little bit harder, see if we can get the audio for it, because that would be a really good resource.
Yeah, I would love to find that stuff. A lot of times those guys they'll mention those interviews and stuff like that,
Right.
and then they might show clips of it or something like that. Very rarely do we find the full
full
length interview.
Yeah, so we'll see if we can
We'll
get
dig.
that. I'm
dig.
not opposed to calling KUOW and being like, hey, will you
no.
send us a little 3-hour
Would you like to
MP3
support some
piece?
independent journalism,
Exactly.
KUOW?
Exactly. Like, we're super left and like love all that stuff, so
Absolutely.
it'll help the cause if you send it over.
We're huge Biden supporters.
Yeah. So that's the first topic. We're going to talk about, Morgan asked us about the death penalty, and so we were going to talk about it last week and then decided that it should be its own topic this week. So the death penalty, specifically the effects that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had on it, President Biden and Vice President Harris. I still am not over the fact that they always mention them together. It's always the Biden-Harris administration, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like that with Donald Trump and Mike Pence. It wasn't like that with Barack Obama and Joe Biden. It wasn't like that with Joe Bush and fucking
Joe Bush.
Cheney, or
George Bush
and
Cheney.
And Cheney, yeah.
Which was funny because I would say the Biden-Harris administration is probably a lot more similar to the W. Cheney administration,
Yes.
because
Yes.
Cheney kind of ran everything anyways,
Yes.
and I think that's probably what we're seeing here now, or if not, that's could be you're joking, you're kidding yourself if you do not think that Biden is nothing but a placeholder. It is. He has literally said that himself.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But that's why it's a Biden-Harris. It's a Biden-Harris. It's a Biden-Harris. It's Biden-Harris. It's Biden-Harris.
Yeah.
Because, she couldn't do it on her own.
Word.
All I'm saying.
So we're going to talk a lot about that.
Yep.
We're also going to talk for Paul. Paul requested us to go over the state reopening and how that's going on because
There's been some
there's
things.
many things that doesn't really make
Yeah.
very much sense. And I was embarrassed to say that when I went to get my haircut the last time he asked me about it, and it was
I don't
like
know.
it was at the end of our Christmas break, like right before episode 100,
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, so I don't even know. It's like I haven't even been like really tracking politics that much. Like Colin's been
It's like,
sick.
bro,
I was
it's
like,
been a
we've just
thing. I've been
kinda-
off.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm off the sauce, man.
Yeah, so I told him that I would look into that. So Paul, if you're watching this, and if not, we're gonna tag you obviously in the episode when I post it on Monday, so you're gonna know that these are being done. So I brought that. I didn't bring.
Did not-
God damn it!
What did you not bring?
The fucking article that I printed out to fucking bring with me because I'm a stupid asshole.
Which article? I bet you we can find
It
it.
is. Yeah, I'm sure that we can. Oh, just kidding. It's right here. I got it. God damn it. I got it. We're out of here. So, those are our topics for this week.
It's gonna
Thank
be
you.
great.
I wanted to start here.
Okay. Because there's so much. This is what I
There's
said
a lot.
in the pre-show.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, there's been a lot happening.
We're going to talk about GameStop, too.
Oh, thank.
Yeah, we're
the
definitely
gods.
because all this stuff is not going to take 3 hours. We're definitely going to talk about GameStop because
that's a thing.
holy tits.
It makes me so happy.
It also makes me incredibly upset.
Right.
The whole situation.
There's pluses and minuses.
Robinhood,
Robinhood
the fucking
needs to-
the everything. Yeah.
There's this thing been going around lately. It was like Robin Hood, all of a sudden, is now the sheriff of Nottingham. I was like, oh, that's perfect.
That's really
it was
funny.
The sheriff of Nottingham wearing, the clothing of Robin Hood this
Yeah.
whole fucking time.
Yes.
Because you look at who has financial interests in Robinhood, and you go, oh, this is basically like Facebook and social media, where like
Right.
we are the customers here, or we're the merchandise, not the customer.
And if you don't, I know you don't really watch Rising, but anybody here watching, I would highly suggest you go and watch Rising. They do really the best
Friday's
part,
episode.
Yeah, it was the
I watched it this
27th. I
morning.
wrote it down exactly. And so
It's so good.
Sagar on Jetty, he's like, I love Sagar. He's definitely my favorite of the two. You know what I'm
He
saying?
wears a suit and he has a
Beautiful floral
conservative.
ties like
Yes.
all the time. Yeah,
Dude,
him
no,
and
he's
his
prim
family
and
are
proper.
Indian immigrants. Yeah, no, he's awesome. And so he went on. I mean, just
a tirade, dude.
it was beautiful about how corrupt the entirety of the government is and how nobody there actually cares about regular people pretty much, and
Yeah.
they're more than happy to allow the system to be taken advantage of and people to lose all of their money as long as it isn't them, and
As long as it's us plebs.
right. And like you said, how Robinhood or any company like that is free is not, you aren't the user, you aren't the customer, you're the product.
Yes,
They're taking
that's
your
what it is.
information, they're taking your data, and they're selling it, and that is how these big hedge funds got a hold over Robinhood, is because they're purchasing, these big hedge funds are buying the purchasing data from the Robinhood users, from Robinhood, so they know what the trends are in the market, so
Yep.
they know which stocks they need to buy, which stocks they need to short, which way they need to bet.
And
And-
this financial fuckery trail
so
goes
crazy.
all the way up to the now head of the Treasury,
Yes.
Janice Yellen.
I think it's Janet
Yellen, sorry.
Over
Janet Yellen.
$800,000 she has received from a company that pays Robinhood for
Well,
their
they
data.
they own a
They
own a stake
yeah,
in
that's
the
what
the
it's-
company that did that. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is all. This is all. I mean, fuck. This is how the game works, man. Shell company after shell company after owns this portion of this portion. They're asset holding companies, and
And Janet
this
Yellen,
is the world of finance, baby.
if you guys don't know, is the newly confirmed chair of the Federal Reserve. So
Yes. Well,
and when the press secretary, what's her name, Jen Psaki, was
Jen
asked
Psaki.
if Janet Yellen would recuse herself from this GameStop fiasco because she has financial ties with the companies that are involved in Robinhood, Jen Psaki's response was something to the effect of, "Oh well, let me remind you that we have the first female chair of the Fed ever."
Yeah, and we have a very diverse economic.
Mad diverse.
What are they? The economic team.
Yeah.
Economic team. So so then things will be
Yes.
looked at. I'm
and
sure.
then the next day, when she was asked more specifically, like, okay, there are reports that she was given, just under $1 million, like, for this, and like, is
Yeah.
there anything to say about that? And
It was
she,
the course of, I believe, 3 days of speaking engagements.
and I think it was, yeah, and her answer then was something to the effect of, oh, well, she's one of the top, financial minds in the world. So it seems obvious that she would have made money like that before she took this position.
Yep. Definitely makes sense.
Which is fine, but is that not then a conflict of interest? Does this not indicate that you should maybe not hold this position if you fucking got all that money?
Yep.
Like,
And on
what?
I will say though, on Friday's Shapiro show, he did state that she did indeed recuse herself from this.
Oh, thank God!
So
because
that's a sign.
because
that's a plus.
On Rising, they were citing the ethics docket that everybody, in the Biden administration signed, that, like, we're not going to have anything to do with any type of suspiciousness or anything. It's all clean.
That loyalty pledge
Jen
we
Psaki
talked
even
about.
said they're committed to having the most ethically or morally clean administration of all time. Oh, is that what they're committed to? Then fucking quit right now, because you're already behind. You've already lost. You've made how many millions of dollars from China and all these different countries around the world, but you refuse to admit it, right? What did we just talk about? Hunter Biden still has a stake in a Chinese company,
Yep.
still drawing profit from it. But they want to be the most honest and ethically legitimate, administration of all time.
We can't talk about that.
Fucking quit now.
Just
Fucking
quit now.
Before we continue,
Oh.
I don't want to forget.
Yes.
Denzel 2AM, RJ Wandot, they've both put out music in the last 2 weeks, so I want to make sure that they get a shout out. Denzel 2AM, I believe they're both EPs. I think that's if you look them up on Spotify, it says singles, but it's 3 songs on there, so it can't be a single if there's fucking 3 songs on it, because it's an album.
That's what we call EP, baby.
That's what I'm saying. So it's an EP, Denzel 2AM, the EP, A Shot in the Dark, 3 songs, G2G, You Got Me, and Venture. The last time I had a hard time remembering, so I wrote them down so that I didn't fucking forget. One Dot, I listened to that shit yesterday because it just came out yesterday. The One Dot shit is fire. RJ shit that he put out is fucking fire. All for Nothing, those 3 songs, Grow Up, Mad at Me, and Waste on You.
So at
Go
this
check
point,
them
they're
out.
like, however many tracks they have, they're like,
Yes.
the ratio is 1 for 1 of just fire on fire on fire. They
Oh, they're
do
doing
not
great.
make bad music, period.
No,
there's not a
there's-
single bad song in
No.
their entire library.
There are definitely, obviously, there are going to be songs like I prefer this one over this one and stuff like that, but there
Which
isn't
is, yeah.
there isn't a song that I listen to of theirs that I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah,
you
next.
know?
There's
Yeah.
none of that.
No.
There's none of that.
And that's just, I know, I would be cautious of anyone being like, oh, these guys are just shills, like they're fucking whatever, like, but
No, they're hustling.
They make no, I mean us, that we're
Oh,
shills,
we're-
like for them, they make genuinely good music. It just happens to be that they are right up my alley. I know you like their shit, and I've spoken many times about how thankful I am that we hooked up with somebody that actually makes shit that I enjoy, and I don't have
Right.
to like pretend to like it when it comes
Yeah.
out. So
And and our relationship with Upper Left is essentially, just it's been formed as naturally as possible because it all started originally with, you went to high school with a few of the cats, right?
All of them.
All of them? And
all of them besides
so you
Denzel,
just
but I
kinda-
think he even because I think he did go to school with me later on. I just didn't know him.
And so, like, you kind of had an affiliation with him at some point
Yeah.
just from knowing him back in the day. But I mean, just through the little collabs that we've done, and we, not to release anything, but we may or may not have another collab with them coming sometime
May or may
soonish.
not.
May or may not. And our relationship is just kind of formed naturally. They're solid guys, every single one of them. I'm not much into like the rap game that much. I'm not too into it, but it's all stuff that I really enjoy.
What?
I know. I'm not. I'm a.
No, you like a lot of like electronic music. And
I
shit.
do.
You,
I do.
You're
I
into
do.
the fucking
Especially lately. So.
computer guy.
Yeah.
Computer guy over
Weird.
here.
With the 3 giant screens. I don't know.
Yeah, triple screen guy over here. So I want to talk about this, Colin. I don't remember what I was listening to this week. I started listening to some of the old podcasts, like The Journal I re-followed, which is a Wall Street Journal podcast.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That one's really good. Start Here, I started listening to that one because that's
Yeah.
like the one I could tolerate the most of those 3. Like that's
Start
the
Here
ABC
is
one.
the ooh.
Yeah. And
that one drove me nuts.
It was
after
pretty
a while,
bad.
man.
Towards
Oh.
the election, it it was bad. I had
But
to
now
stop.
that
Like,
Biden's
it
in the
was-
chair, I'm sure things have changed, right?
It's still not
their
great,
reporting
but
is.
It's still not great, but
Yeah.
they talked about San Francisco, right?
Oh,
We all love to talk about San Francisco.
We do,
So
'cause
San
it's fun.
Francisco, I believe it was the city council there decided they're going to change a bunch of the names of the
All of 'em.
schools.
all of them.
The schools that have presidents' names or like politicians' names.
Yep.
So far,
George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. I don't want to say Frederick Douglass, but Dianne Feinstein. Like,
because when
huge
she
names.
because they're all racist,
Yes.
right? All of the presidents are racist. They've all done terrible things.
they formed a committee that looked at the names of all of these schools, and they
Yeah.
made a decision about whether they should keep the school's name or not. And when it came down to Abraham Lincoln, their argument for changing the school was he did not show that black lives mattered to him enough.
Didn't care enough.
Emancipation Proclamation.
Dianne Feinstein, when she was the mayor of whatever city she was the mayor of, I think San Francisco,
I
right?
believe.
Yeah, there was like a bombing or some type of public destruction, and like a Civil War flag or a monument was destroyed, and
Yes.
she paid quickly to have it replaced.
Yeah.
That's why they're taking her name down.
Yeah.
John
It was
Muir.
during a celebration of what was it? It was like all these.
Totally
it was like
legit.
it was
It's
like
totally
a historic
legit.
thing of
Yeah.
flags. It was like
yeah.
where it like
Yes.
belonged there because it was part of the U.S. history or something like that, where it was in proper context. And like no.
She paid to have it replaced.
Pull her name down.
Yeah, she had it replaced. John Muir, who helped establish Yosemite National Park.
Yep.
This is the one that made me laugh the most, right? Because they cited his ties to people who believed in eugenics, which is hilarious because Margaret Sanger was a fucking eugenicist, and she's the one that started Planned Parenthood.
Yep. But
she's a god, right? She's a goddess, and we
Yep.
should we got to really hold on to that.
you should
Margaret
not be
Sanger and all
gendering
that shit.
her like that.
Like,
Donovan.
what the fuck?
Jesus.
Isn't
Well, I guess I just said
I
her.
thought that was so hilarious.
so bad.
Like, oh, he was friends with eugenicists. Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist. Like, she put Planned Parenthoods in black neighborhoods in an attempt to kill more black babies. That was the whole idea. That was her whole plot.
That's how it was established, and
But
the
it's
reason why it was
Super
established.
legit, though, right? Not racist at all.
Nope.
Isn't that fucking wild?
Well,
Hilarious.
The only reason it works, right, is at the end of the day when it comes to the true definition of equity, when you look at equity from an intersectional standpoint,
Yeah.
the ends justify the means because you ended up at a place that you are satisfied with today, so you don't look back because where we ended up was fine. That's unfortunately the way a lot of this logic works. Or, quote unquote logic, I should say, because you can't call it logic because it's illogical.
Pretty hilarious.
And the kicker to all these school names changes, right? It costs millions of dollars to do this. In the meantime,
all the signs, all the everything that has to be changed, all of the memorabilia, all of the staff shit, all of the everything.
Everything, all the
Yes.
documents, all this stuff. Where's the money
Yes.
come from? It's coming from the taxpayers who are not allowed to go to fucking work in California.
Or school.
Or school.
The kids can't go to school. The kids aren't in school. And they're paying millions of dollars to change the names of the schools.
This is
It's
so
hilarious.
I just can't.
It's awesome. It would be awesome if it wasn't so sad.
the
You know what I'm
cognitive
saying?
dis-
But that's
like,
why it's just
yeah.
so hilarious.
Like, you have to laugh because otherwise it's so incredibly dark and terrifying that, like, I don't know how anybody would want to remain in California right now. Like, there's a reason there's an exodus. And we're talking millions and millions of dollars just running as fast as they can away from California because, and you know who's the best part about this, right? Is when there's a problem on the governmental level like that in a state like California, the people who are most put out by the system, the most stepped on, the ones that have the least amount of money, the most affected, right? The most disenfranchised.
Yeah.
Do not have the fucking money to leave.
Right.
They have to sit there and they're stuck in this fucking failing
pay more
system of a state.
taxes and get
And
less of
pretty
their
goddamn soon, we're going to fucking be there in our
Yeah.
state if we keep on the road we're going now that Emperor Inslee has got his next term up.
Well, and now they've already talked. They're already
dude.
talking about like a capital gains tax. You know what I'm
Capital
saying here,
gains
and-
tax, the
yeah.
fuel tax. You seen the fuel tax?
You mentioned that to me. Yes.
About to be
Beautiful
the
time.
highest in the nation in 2 years. By the end of 2022,
Beautiful
we will
time.
have the highest gas tax in the entire nation.
We're moving, Colin. We're moving this company to another state. We're not
You know-
going to Florida.
you know,
It's too hot in Florida.
The beautiful thing is we'll be an internet company, so it really
We'll be
doesn't
fine.
matter.
Yeah, we'll be good.
We'll fucking maybe we'll go to we'll base out of Alaska.
we have to.
Right.
We have to.
We'll just base out of Alaska. We'll throw. I mean, you just throw a zip code
I
down there.
think
It's fine,
Alaska
you know,
would
an
be
area.
good. I like.
Yeah.
We had a legitimate conversation. I'm like, I'm telling you, like it would be good.
I will tell you right
It
now.
would be good.
Okay, I have lived in.
They got a
Alaska.
UBI in Alaska.
They do.
They got a UBI in Alaska.
Essentially, it's a.
Will not be in Alaska.
Okay.
It's a UBI.
Southern Alaska is no different than it is here. So if you like where we're at now, relatively, I know the weather is why they want to move. So I guess this is not a good argument.
The taxes and
Except
stuff. And the
every year you
politics-
get money for the oil.
The politics is a big driver for us.
The politics is bad. Yes.
Through
Going through another country?
no,
No.
that's too much to ask.
You could drive on a
That's-
ferry and the ferry can take you down. It's called the Alaska Marine Highway.
Yeah, you could.
And it only runs like part of the year because, you know, in the wintertime it gets.
Listen,
you
we'll
can't go
talk
that
about
way.
this more later. It's all right. Alaska will be fine.
They're
It's
trying to
not a
move us to
problem.
Florida, Donovan.
We'll compare some taxes and we'll see
They're
what's
trying
really
to
going
move
on.
us to. Okay, California is God's etch sketch. Florida is God's waiting room that is sinking into the ocean. Is that
Texas is gonna see
not Georgia?
Texas,
Georgia's hot and sticky. I've been there. It's hot.
Wyoming.
Wyoming. I want an ocean though. That's the problem. And all the
what-
good
that's what
ocean
Jordan
states
said.
are taken up.
Yeah, the ocean states are terrible.
Because the Gulf, you don't want to go down there. They got the whole, you know, Deepwater Horizon. You don't wanna
Speaking
go
of
down
blaring hypocrisy, right? Because this is where I wanted to start here this week.
This is what we do.
Yeah,
I wanted that to be my hill to die on, by the way, but it goes for pretty much everything we talked
yeah,
about
no, I
today.
picked one too, so we'll just see what happens. Biden betrayal, right?
Biden betrayal.
It's been he was inaugurated on the 20th, so it's been 10 days.
Check.
Okay, so it's been 10 days, and I think I have two things written down here already, and there was something else that I forgot to write down that are already just beautiful. The Jenny Yellen thing, right? This GameStop bullshit.
Janet
all the
Yellen,
nonsense,
yep.
right? But the first thing, the $2,000 checks. We're like, we're going to do this day one.
No, we're not.
We're coming in day one. We're doing it. We have the votes. We're hammering. Like, but also $1,400. But then also, we're going to have to reevaluate who gets this. So, like, maybe it's going to be some more time, and, like, we're not really sure. So,
Hi, Kathy.
who fucking knows when we're going to get these checks, or if they're even going to equal up to $2,000 or anything like that.
They gotta just kind of figure out what to do, man.
So
they don't know.
The
don't
next
know.
thing is I have to look up more specifically the actual unions, but like
Oh.
for Climate Day and all this stuff, all these projects that were closed down across the country,
Unions
like
pissed.
the XL pipelines, all this shit, all these unions that he traveled the country getting on his team, and then within 10 days, thousands of jobs are taken from unions because he cancels
Tens
all
of
these
thousands.
projects. All these people who he's like, I'm gonna make your life better. It's gonna be sick as fuck.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but also find a new job because we're not doing that here anymore.
Remember when he said he's not gonna stop fracking?
Again, it would be hilarious if it wasn't so fucking tragic and we weren't
Exactly.
to end up with potentially millions of people without jobs because he decided that he was going to lie to people to try and defeat Donald Trump in the presidential election.
But it's
and
for-
we allowed him to do
It's
it.
for the greater good, my
For the
friend.
greater good.
Some sacrifices
greater
must
good.
be made, and that means you and your job if you're a blue collar working American,
Right.
especially in the Midwest. They don't really care about you like at all. But the new version of Learn to Code is, you remember Learn to Code? Everybody remember Learn to Code? Do I need
Yes.
okay. So this was oil people or coal people having to learn to code, blah blah, because we're
Yes.
gonna get rid of coal.
What are we going to do with all the coal miners
Yes,
if we're going
right.
to close down coal?
The
What are we
new
gonna do?
version now
Learn to code.
is because we shut down all oil and fracking contracts for 100 days.
Right.
So remember when he said he wasn't going to do that? Well, he didn't like put a full moratorium on it, just 100 days. But we're gonna take those people's whose jobs working on the XL pipeline. Is it the XL? No, it's XLR,
Keystone
the
XL.
Keystone XL pipeline. We're going to take those guys, and then we're going to teach them how to make solar panels. That's the new idea, is we're going to put
Yes.
them into green jobs now.
Solar panels and the. So this was the thing I
It's
was
all
talking
the
about
green
Climate
energy.
Day that I didn't
Yeah.
hate, right? Because they were talking about converting all of the federal vehicles
To
to
electric.
electric vehicles, and
A month after Nancy Pelosi just bought a shit ton of Tesla stock. by the
so
way.
I have something else to add to that after
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
right? So
sweet.
they added, right, so they're going to switch all of these federal vehicles over to electronic vehicles, and so it's in theory going to create a bunch of jobs to install all the charging platforms, all the solar panels, all that shit. But I'm interested in what the final numbers are going to be in the offset from the people that lose their jobs
Oh,
from the
yeah.
natural gas, the coal, all that shit, to the people who get jobs in the green energy business, especially because those other jobs were union jobs. They're like they're public sector unions, private sector unions, right? And so
It's a mix of both, but yeah.
but I mean the jobs that are being lost and the ones that are going to be
Private sector unions.
added are likely to be government jobs. So
Public
they're
sector unions.
likely to, and is it going to pay less or pay more money if the people get into this other union job? Do you know? I guess we don't know.
No, we don't know
specifically. We have to
specifically. Generally
what generally
speaking,
pays more? Is it a private sector union
Public
job
sector.
or is that
but it depends on what industry you're in.
depends on what
Yeah.
the So
Either way, a union job,
I'm not trying to assert anything. I am genuinely asking. I don't know.
yeah, a union job will always generally pay more by the time you add up the benefits package that you're getting and the value of that with your salary over the course of your career, say 20 years, union jobs will pay more than private sector jobs.
Yeah.
And that's saying that your advancement is static and all that good stuff too, because obviously if you're in the private sector, there's there's ladders to climb too where you become making a bunch of money too. But generally speaking, a guy that's going to build a pipeline,
Yeah.
right? If he's going to build this pipeline for the private sector, is probably going to make less money than the union guy that's building the pipeline. That's
Yeah.
generally how it works. It's usually about 2 to 3 times more.
And so I told Jordan when I was talking to him about it, I was like, so obviously I want people to get more money. I want people to have money as long as it's reasonable. You know
And
what
I
I'm saying?
love green energy, by
But
the
I
way.
love I prefer that it would be private companies bidding to get the job, get the contracts to then do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's going to be a government job, like, then it is what it is. I would rather it be a private sector job. You know what I'm saying? So that it can be a free market type of deal. But
And public sector unions
so I'm interested to
feel
see
a lot more like private sector jobs, right?
Yeah.
Because they're run different.
Yeah.
Compared to like your standard, you're going to go work for the IRS or something. That's
Right.
It's generally a little different, but
So we have some
Essentially
comments
the
here.
same
Let's
thing.
arrest it. Stop the building of the wall, restore to one's health. Right. So I'm not saying I didn't at all say it's great or funny that he's wasted 10 days. I said that there are things that he explicitly said he was going to do in not only the first days of administration, but his entire administration, and he, within 10 days, immediately rescinded those things.
Yep.
The $2,000 checks are, first of all, nowhere to be seen, and they don't even seem to be really a part of the discussion anymore,
No,
because
you
first of all,
won't
they were
see 'em.
dropped to the 14, and now they're talking about, well, we don't really know who's going to get them or who's going to do whatever.
And Yang's too busy running for mayor of New York now to worry about trying to convince the Biden administration
Right.
how to run UBI. So it's not going to
They
happen.
just signed like 90 executive orders. At least one of them is going to be positive. I'm not saying there's nothing possible over the past 10 days. I'm saying
Yeah.
these things that he explicitly promised that he was going to do, he's immediately that sounded like a child. That sounded like a fucking small child.
Yodi over there making. That
That was weird.
He makes weird noises,
Yes.
bro.
Washington
the other
State
day,
unemployment is working.
she says,
Sorry.
"Got it." By the way,
Yes.
so Washington State employment is working. Are on getting people into
retraining.
retraining. I am working with people laid off by Boeing. Word, and that's.
Oh,
I am glad that a system of some kind exists to do
Yes.
that, right? I gotta. That's a whole philosophical conversation, but I'm glad that our state has that, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not it's capable of handling capacity,
especially
operating at
right
scale,
now. It's. I mean, at this point,
because you're
it's
talking
not
about
made
liquidating
to-
entire industries
Yes.
overnight
Yes.
through executive fiat.
Yeah.
Have you learned anything? Have you heard anything about the his plans for public lands and green energy?
So the only thing that I can think about off the top of my head is at this moment a stalling on new contracts for oil and natural gas drilling on public lands.
Okay.
So all of the current contracts are still existing. It's just no new ones.
So in the latest and greatest, I'll have to find the episode name, Meat Eater podcast.
Yes.
They talk about the incoming Secretary of the Interior. 1,500 people we are training to help. Fuck, that is awesome, Kathy.
Yeah.
But again, 1,500 people is awesome, but can it handle an entire industry? That will be the question. That will be the question on a nationwide scale.
Right.
So
right.
we'll see, but given the government's track record, I have little faith.
Because they're obviously technical people. They're doing technical jobs. I mean, technical and not in like electronic jobs, but in the way that like being a coal miner is not a simple job. Being a natural gas miner is not a simple job. There are lots of steps, lots of things you have to learn to do. So you can obviously learn. What up, Larry?
Larry's amped up for it.
You can obviously teach these very intelligent people how to do something in a different industry, you know. But there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some people who are better at it, older people, younger people that take to it at different rates. I'm very, very interested in how, like I said, the final numbers, which is a long time from now, because who knows, you know, how long these policies are going to be dragged out or anything like that. But even at the end of these 4 years, I'm interested on what the numbers are from people who lost their jobs from those union jobs that were natural gas jobs. You know what I'm saying? We're going to call old energy jobs. Just at this moment, I've just said that.
Legacy energy.
Legacy energy.
Boom.
That's a good one. A legacy energy job to a new energy type job.
That's too much of a mouthful.
And I don't like I said, the climate day thing. The one thing I was jazzed on was that there was going to be new jobs, because that was always my big thing for green energy. Was like, if there's going to be a massive expansion, at least in some way we can figure out how to just pay a fuckload of people to be doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do we remember about, I don't remember, I mean, it was a while back, and I understand that the calculus has certainly changed around this.
Yeah.
But we tried this before, early on in the Obama-Biden administration, except they took a different tact, and they offered massive subsidies to green companies to develop these technologies, and every single one of them went totally tits up afterwards. They went bankrupt trying
think the
to do this
technology's
stuff.
come a long way since then.
Elon Musk is not throwing on fucking solar panel roof tiles yet. And if this dude has not figured out how to... He's the only person that has figured out how to mass produce electronic vehicles that are reliable, safe, and like something people want to buy, right? It's a consumer product.
Yes.
If he has not established a solar panel that is affordable to the everyday person and easy enough to manufacture at scale, this is not fucking happening. The U.S. government is not going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Not saying that he's like the end-all be-all here, and there might be some other companies out there, but it's
Tits up.
Tits up. Is this like a new term that I...
You said that.
I said that.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that the connotation... They did, because, you fall... Bed. Okay, got it. I'm just saying here. And,
I think you're...
And we all need to remember that a lot of these executive actions that have come forward here, dictating this, dictating that, planning on doing this, may not ever really go anywhere.
So
a lot of these things may not truly go anywhere.
My only real counter to your point would be definitely within 48 hours of this climate day, GM announced that by 2035 they were going to have all electric vehicles in all of their showrooms.
Because they're trying to get a hold of the money.
That's what I'm saying, is that if there are already companies like GM that are positioning themselves in a place to get more money from the government to try and funnel it into something. They've already pumped billions of dollars into to like make good electric vehicles that for one reason or another they're not selling them, right?
Well, let's put it this way, because their R&D on the technology is nowhere near, manufacturing line ready. BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Tesla, and there's one other company out there, but it's not one of the big GMs. Like
for electric vehicles or autonomous vehicles, because that's what I'm. You know what I'm saying?
I might be thinking autonomous.
I feel like
they generally go hand in hand these days.
I mean, for years they've had legitimate electric vehicles, but there isn't the market incentive to sell them. Like, it makes more sense to continue to sell gasoline vehicles. The electronic vehicles are going to last longer. There's all kinds of shit that makes the gas vehicles more economically friendly for the companies to be selling.
And I will say
there's going to be some type of federal incentive for people to be having green cars or electric vehicles,
Tits up, my dad used to say that all the time. Thank God.
That's really
I picked it up somewhere. And it's probably an older school.
If Grandpa Hobie used to say it, then you're in the clear.
Yes.
Yeah. You're good.
I'm in good company.
He's from Middlesboro, Kentucky, so it's potentially a Southern thing. He was also in the military, so it's
Ooh.
probably a military thing. Tits up. It's probably
Tits
a
up.
military thing.
You go tee up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would be very interested. I really hope, especially because it's 2021 now.
Yes.
Technology has come a long way. I would love to see, the era of the internal combustion engine kind of like go away.
Yes.
Because it's fucking time. I think we're there. We just need to kind of make sure that our manufacturing can support our societal desire to be there.
Jordan pointed out that 2035 will be the year that Dax gets his license. So
That's right.
that will be
By
weird.
Agenda 20, according to Agenda 2030.
2030.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm
We're all obsolete anyway.
Yeah, I'm
so.
pretty much there anyways.
The last local thing that I wanted to talk about is there was a new magazine ban bill, a high-capacity magazine ban bill that is working in the works in our state. And so earlier this week there was a hearing in the Law and Crime Subcommittee, I believe, in our state legislature, in which they, heard a bunch of testimony in favor and against this magazine ban bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the night before, I put in a written testimony that they said, we'll consider all the written testimonies when we make our decision. Which, yeah, I'm fucking sure you
How
will.
many
right?
of those actually
So-
got read? Come on now.
Maybe like 5.
They just get
and
filed.
So they had, I think, 2 hours of
Open debate.
spoken testimony that they were doing, and so everyone got like 2 minutes, and then they got 1 minute. And I noticed that there was a lot of people. First of all of the talking points in favor of this bill are tired as fuck.
Yeah.
They're tired. They're the same old talking points that have been
Lay a couple
used.
on me.
Gabby Giffords. When the Gabby
Oh.
Giffords shooting happened, that was only stopped because this person had to reload and they tried to fumble with their magazine, right?
That's tired.
School shootings when guns jam and then this person has to use a gun with a smaller magazine. Things like this. It provides citizens and first responders vital time to try and intervene and do something, These same fucking talking points that I've been hearing since I was in junior high.
Yeah, that
right?
sounds about
So,
the same.
not the Gabby Giffords because I don't remember when that happened. Either way, right?
You probably were in high school.
So those
Or junior
same,
high.
I think that I was in junior high. Anyway, right? All those pro talking points that I heard were tired as fuck. There's nothing new. There's nothing to counter any of the arguments that we have even laid out on this show here, which tells me that there's something wrong with the pro side of this. If your arguments have not even grown to the point that you can handle what you and I are laying down, then there's something going on here, right?
2011, by the way.
2011, so I was in the 11th grade. So
Word.
I
God damn,
also
that hurts.
noticed that
Graduated for 6 years.
a lot of the people that were there to speak or spoke in favor of it didn't live here. They weren't in the state.
Whoa.
They were, some people had hands in like other big name shootings that had happened, or like we knew
Okay.
someone that did
Yeah.
this, and so they're here testifying for this. If you don't live here, why does your opinion fucking matter at all about what we are doing in Washington State?
Because their experience with firearms
Right.
that's how they yep.
Which is ludicrous.
It is.
It's absolutely ludicrous that
Well,
because
I mean, I can
their
get
opinion doesn't have any weight on what we are doing here if they aren't a resident of this state.
but their lived experience, Donovan,
Their lived experience might be
is the same because we've had school shootings in the state,
certainly
right? Oh yeah, I remember that.
Certainly.
So like, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
No,
Because
definitely.
the point they're putting across, the argument that they're putting across, they may be trying to convince the voters of the state
Oh,
or
definitely.
the legislation,
Yeah.
the legislature of the state, like to hear their experience and to understand, so that we don't have to learn that lesson firsthand.
Right.
Right. So it to me, I get it.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you're just going to go there and plead your case for the whole thing.
But it's
I don't really
ho
care
shit.
who you are. Right. It's the
that's
same
ho
thing as
shit.
like, dumping money into a local political race in fucking, Kenosha,
yeah.
Wisconsin. That's a bad example. I'm thinking Oso. What's his name when he was in Georgia running,
got you.
right? And I had a problem with that problem, but yeah. Anyways, there's that.
So
Kenosha.
I also
Ouch.
learned a couple of things, right? Just from people that were speaking against it. One of the things that I learned was people were talking about concerns they had with enforcement of the magazine ban bill. So if anybody who doesn't know, magazines are not serialized.
No.
There's no identifier on
Not
them
in this state.
individually. Not in this state. There's no serial numbers on magazines, and certainly not when they come from the manufacturers. That's not how it goes, right? So there's some, grandfather clause that's like, oh, well, if you have 30-round magazines now, then it's fine if you have them afterwards because your grandfathered in. There is
How do you?
no way to prove other than somehow marking them corresponding with a receipt from when you purchased them. There's no way to prove when or where you purchased a particular magazine.
But Donovan,
So-
as soon as we pass this legislation, aren't people going to call us and tell us that they have these things?
So there was like multiple people who were like, so I'm concerned and wondering, is the burden of proof on you or is it on me to prove when and where I bought these magazines? Because I could just as easily have 10 of them now or go to Idaho after this is passed and buy 10 and bring them back here. Who knows how long I've had either of these things. After I put them in the same bucket, I don't even know which ones are which because they all look the same.
Exactly.
How am I even supposed to know, right?
Exactly.
So I thought that was super interesting that there literally isn't a way to enforce this. There isn't a way for it to be done.
Nope.
And so there are some people that were more concerned. They're like, I'm concerned it's going to cost the state a shitload of money trying to prove someone's guilty when they can't. And other people were like, I'm concerned it's going to cause an individual to cost them a shitload of money to try and prove they're innocent when they can't, or the state try and prove someone is guilty. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
anyway.
because how many times does some form of law enforcement roll by when we're out shooting, like doing target shooting? There, somebody generally
Right.
is
A park
nearby.
ranger or a-
some form of law enforcement. I mean, what's to say they don't stop by and ask to see your guys' magazines and blah 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 afterwards, and then
Right.
Well, then, whose problem is it? Is it their
Well,
problem? Is it our problem?
And you can have them, like, there was another person who said if you're going to have those, you can use them for recreational shooting, like at a shooting range and, something else. But, like, you can't carry it with you. You can't just have it out all the time. So if you're going to transport them, they have to be in an individual locked container
I'm getting really angry.
in your car.
None of this makes
Your
sense.
30-round magazines have to be in an individual container separate from your firearms that also have to be in an individual container because you can't be able to access them while you're driving if you don't have a concealed pistol license,
Yep.
right?
So this
they-
is I-1639
you have to have-
all over again.
You have to have an individual locked case for every firearm and on now all these magazines, and you can't fit your ammunition, all these things. So you have to have another bag for.
And pretty soon you won't be
I
able
gotta
to
borrow
haul.
a truck just to go fucking shooting, dog. So
That's right. But until they make my F-350 illegal because it's a gas guzzler, we can use that.
Right.
That'll be fine. It's got a big bed.
one of the other things that I
well,
learned.
one more thing on
Yes.
this real quick is I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those things that we might actually see passed. But then again, just
Potentially.
like 1639, there will be tiny little portions of it that will be enforceable or somebody will be able to enforce, and the rest of it will go down on the books as law
Right.
where no one has the capability or the willingness to enforce it, period. That would be
There
my guess
was also,
because it's impossible.
many women who spoke out against this. Several mothers, one woman in particular that I remember because her husband
Against the ban or against
the bill,
legis-
yeah,
okay.
against the bill. And she said that her and her husband were attacked leaving like a mall or something one day, and her husband had just had some type of surgery or some type of incident, so he's on crutches, and so she has to try and rush her husband to the car and then get herself in the car while multiple people were trying to get at her and her husband, and they're like blocking the car and shit like that. She said, like, it was that day that I decided I would never be, unable to defend myself or my family again. Another woman who was home alone because her husband was doing whatever. Somebody was trying to kick in her front door, so she had to wedge herself in between her door and the wall so that somebody couldn't get into her house to her and her fucking kids. Multiple parents, you know what I'm saying? Multiple, like I said, women in particular, mothers who were saying the same shit that we've said here. Anybody who is coming to do me harm is already breaking the law. What is the likelihood that they're going to care to follow this particular law? So I have to be at a disadvantage because I want to be a law-abiding citizen while somebody can come in and do harm to me, do harm to my family, and I don't have any way to accurately defend myself.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's also important to remember that every single one of these politicians, I would assume at this point, that has never been put in that type of situation before and will never, because they have the ability and the unlimited wallet to call up as much police protection as they want. And as we saw over the last few months or few weeks, as much military guard as they want to, and nobody says a thing.
$25K. Whether
They don't
have
have
mags
to worry
or not,
about
they're
that.
there.
They don't have to worry about it because
Yeah.
they can just make a phone call, and next thing you know, they have security. As coming into office, you have security. That is your deal. And once you make that, that political career your life, you never have a reason that you'd think that you need to protect yourself, because you have the entirety of the government's arm of law enforcement to do it for you.
And I actually hammered at Nancy Pelosi for that this morning, because she
She's
had a
such-
quote yesterday, I think, or maybe the day before, about whatever that Representative Green is. I said her last name, but the enemy is
Within
among
us.
us.
Yeah.
And
Within the house.
And her last throwaway comment, after talking about how dangerous this particular woman was, she makes this throwaway comment about like, oh, well, I said the enemy is among us because there are people in Congress that have said they want to bring guns onto the floor and said they want to do harm to other people here. And then she walks the fuck away, right?
Yep.
I've heard multiple Congress women speak out and say they want to carry firearms on the floor for their own protection. Not because they want to shoot up the fucking Congress or they want to kill any other congressman, because they don't feel fucking safe, because people just invaded the Capitol after they knew they were going to be there, and they want to be able to defend themselves. Like, literally millions of Americans. There are 8 million new gun owners in 2020.
Yep.
New gun owners, people who bought the first gun for the very first time, on top of however many people owned guns before that.
A lot.
Most of those people choose to carry firearms every day to defend themselves. The idea that a congressperson shouldn't have that same right seems fucking ludicrous to me.
Right.
And I said when I was tweeting about this morning that there's no way that I would serve in a high office without carrying a firearm for my own protection essentially all of the time. There's no way. You
There's
couldn't
an
talk me
imposter
into
among
it.
us.
The fact that there isn't some type of exemption that you can get as a congressperson to carry your firearm in the Capitol seems ludicrous to me. Go through a whole nother year of training. I'll fucking do it. If I'm a congressperson, I'll go through an extra year of training and safety and background and whatever, so that everyone here can know that I'm legit with my concealed carry, because I'm a fucking congressperson and people are potentially going to try and kill me because I'm making laws in this country. No way that I would serve in a high office, right? So I was frustrated.
See, I can go the other way too with that, by the way. Like, I could see an argument for if you are a congressperson because you have extra security, and maybe we need to add extra security or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm not a huge fan of the security state. But I could see
That's what
that
I'm
being a
saying.
thing. I mean, even back in the 1800s, these motherfuckers were literally shooting themselves because they hated each other.
Even with two guys.
I kind of get it a little bit.
Even if I have two Secret Service agents that roll with me, I want to have my own shit.
Yeah.
I don't. If something pops off, I don't want to have to depend on these two guys to make sure that I'm good. I
Yeah.
trust them. I want to be able to trust them. But if there is a life or death situation, I want to have as much control over myself and my own circumstances as possible, especially if the likelihood of me being in a situation like that is higher because I'm serving in a high office. There's no fucking way that I'm doing that without a fucking firearm. There's no way.
No way.
So I was super pissed off, right? Because this
Especially
throwaway
because who wants to
comment.
defend Green?
So
because
check
she's
this,
crazy.
right? That's what I'm saying. So when I tweet
She's
about this,
crazy.
it's you don't have to support Green, and I don't.
Right.
To see that this is a thinly veiled attempt to try and push forward gun control.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that there are Congress people actively speaking out saying that they don't feel safe in the Capitol because of what happened, and Nancy Pelosi and all these people were just defended by Secret Servicemen who were armed with guns in the Capitol. Right. To push forward the narrative that guns are inherently dangerous after her life was just defended with them is ludicrous, and it's fucking see-through. It's translucent.
What did she call for? What
It's
was the
shocking to
verbiage
me.
that Nancy Pelosi called for? She wanted crew-mounted machine guns or something like that. I can't remember the exact verbiage, but it was like, wait. What did you just ask for?
So the idea that somebody wanting to carry a firearm to protect themselves is inherently dangerous or should be looked at as inherently dangerous.
Yeah.
I hesitate to like throw around the word offensive, but like as
It
an
is.
American
It's
who
constitutionally offensive.
safely exercises his Second Amendment right to protect himself and his family and his friends, I am personally offended that someone would try and bastardize the right that I hold so dear to defend the people that I love.
Yep.
After her life was just defended with that very right in the Capitol.
It's the equivalent of calling soldiers like, murderers when they come back from war.
So we're going to talk a
that's-
lot
that's
about
the
this
equivalent.
in My Hill to Die on this week.
Boom.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, yeah.
that was like, what, half hour before you guys left, too? I was
Yes.
like, oh, hey, by the way,
Yeah.
I forgot this last week. We
Yeah.
should do this again.
Yeah, so the magazine, Ben.
That's
And
good.
the last point I have in the magazine, Ben, is actually referring to Gabby Giffords, right? Because that's
Yeah.
been one of the big things. Like, oh, more time. People have to reload more times. There's more time for people to intervene, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the last people to testify was a veteran who was actually on Fort Hood when the shooting happened a few years ago, right?
shit.
Was on Fort Hood. Said he wasn't on that portion of the base, but was on the base, right? And he said the shooting went on, not for hours, but certainly not for 5 minutes. It went on for like an extended period of time. And he said, so there are trained soldiers there that weren't able to take advantage of the reload times of this person who's the active shooter there. So for what reason are we expecting a police officer or even a regular civilian to be able to take advantage of that reload time, right?
Yep.
And I was talking to Jordan about it yesterday, and I said, in an hour, I could find 100 videos of 100 different people, kids my age, that can do sub 1 second, one reload, one shots, shooting one time, reloading a magazine, shooting one time, sub 1 second. You're going to tell me that there's, even 1% of police officers out there that are going to be able to take advantage of a sub 1 second reload time for somebody who is intending on doing the most damage possible at that particular
and who
time?
has probably trained themselves to do that.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
That's the argument that I meant to believe now. While at the same time, I meant to believe that we have a renewed insurgency of white supremacy and young white men who want to do violence to the Capitol and overthrow the country, who are radical Second Amendment people and are in militias and doing all this training and doing all this shit. So if they're doing all this training and doing all this shit, they likely have, let's even call it sub 2 second, right?
Right.
Do you think that even I, maybe on my best of days, could I take advantage of a sub 2 second reload time to try and take a shot on somebody who's actively shooting other people?
That is still so
if
short.
If I have my gun drawn at a short ready behind a door,
Yeah.
could I potentially take advantage of a sub 2 second reload time?
Tick. That's it. Tick. Tick.
So I
Tick.
don't understand why it doesn't make sense to me. And it only makes sense to people who don't understand firearms.
Yep.
And I don't blame any of those people, because if you don't know, then you don't know. But I don't understand
And the
why,
amount,
like,
little bit
they're
of faith,
like cool with
right?
it, They're like okay with just like not knowing
Yeah.
any of these things, and like, well, then fucking the
because-
senators know best. Like,
Because guns are bad, okay? But I will say this: you brought up how many new gun owners are there in America?
8 million new gun owners
That's
in 2020.
8 million more people that have had their eyes opened. That is a good sign. That is a
Yes.
step in the right direction. So
Yeah.
that is good for the Second Amendment.
One of the things they put in this bill is that the most popular firearms don't even have 10-round magazines, because that's not even common. So one of these people who testified pulled up a list of the top 10 most popular handguns in the United States, and he said 9 of these 10 come stock with magazines with more than 10 rounds in them.
Yeah.
So the Glock 17 is the most popular handgun in America. It comes standard
Yeah.
with a 17-round magazine.
Because if you're just talking firearms in general, you're probably talking a lot of long guns,
Right.
which don't have 10-round magazines,
in this
so it
bill,
throws
they
off the
specify,
statistics.
like handguns.
Yeah,
And
and that
ludicrous.
So stupid.
Ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. You can't even
gosh.
try and like find facts or statistics that maybe fit what you're talking about. You're just gonna lie and just mash shit onto a piece of paper and just try and put it out
yeah,
there.
it's the same thing they've been doing
It's
for a long
crazy,
time,
man.
bro.
This
It's all these people. If you don't own a gun, the only narrative you can go with is that guns are bad and dangerous.
Yeah.
Because guns are bad and dangerous to
Guns
people
are
that
bad.
don't know what a gun is. So on that note, 50-some minutes in,
Yeah.
let's wrap this baby up.
The pre-shows have been closer to an hour. That's kind
Yeah,
of really
there's a
where we've
lot
been
of
at.
stuff we got to get off our chest
Well,
here, man.
yeah, it's a different style. It's a different. I think it's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's healthy.
I'm gonna set a timer today.
Plus,
oh my
I gotta
god.
pee.
The knife that I bought is so sharp. I went to get
Don't
something off the blade. and
Always
I,
cut
like,
towards your friends, not
I
you.
just went to something off the blade.
Oh yeah.
Just to wipe something off the blade
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
you gotta be
cut a
careful.
flap on my thumb. I was like, ooh, damn, son. Yeah. It was a good one. So
Oh my gosh,
thank you, everybody, for joining us.
it's been real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This
been
is
fun.
obviously Solid the Streets live stream episode 101 on our YouTube at Solid Streets. We have our Instagram at Solid Streets. We have our Facebook at Solid Streets. Fuck Facebook. We have our personal social media. I'm at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. He's at Big Birdoffy on both of those things. We also just got onto a new social media called Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Just got
Getting
onto
there.
it. It's exclusive. It's super duper secret. So we don't really know how to work it yet because we've only been on it for like a week.
Yeah.
Larry's going to give us a rundown next week. He offered to like set up a room and like help us run through it.
Word.
I went on there for like 5 minutes earlier this week, popped into a room that said Wake and Bake. And the first thing the person who was hosting was like, so what do y'all fuck with polyamorous relationships? And I was like, I don't. It's like, this just isn't my room. It's like, this one just isn't for me. Yeah. And Jordan was like, well, that sounds really interesting. But
You just keep vamping for 30 seconds.
oh my God, this guy's really going to do this to me. I decided, and I didn't tell Colin this, but that I'm going to use every bathroom opportunity because this guy's going to the bathroom like once an hour. Every time he goes to the bathroom, I'm going to remind people to like, subscribe, share the videos, and then go and meet all our social media. It's going to be a really easy timer. So that's what we're going to do. So again, I'll remind everybody, yeah, if you're on Clubhouse, go and find us on Clubhouse. I don't really know how it works if you follow us or whatever, but we're going to start fucking with that. Oh! What? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. Oh, okay. I just didn't want to forget.
Jesus.
That's it. Vamping. It's going to be a fire episode. Well, I thought you were going to have me announce something. So I was like, I don't know. Getting prepared to vamp.
Vamp.
I'm really cool.
We're vamping.
That's it. We're done.
There was like, man, I was going to have changed my pants if I waited another 30 seconds. That was
No.
just going to be rough.
You're good. Right here. Thank you
Oh.
for everybody for joining us. Have a fantastic weekend. Episode 101 out on Monday. That's
Indeed.
it.
Peace out. Girl
Bye.
Scouts.